Hey scholars, so today we're going to continue on with our lessons on cause and effect. So we are in our packet and we are on pages 30 and we're going to be looking at page 31 as well. So we're going to start off with page 30 and the title of our story is called Running Hot and Cold. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read the story. Now as we're reading, Miss Esther is just going to model how we can underline some facts or even some things that I see where we are talking about cause and effect. So if you remember from yesterday's lesson, we looked at the story of the boy in the balloon. So he blew his balloon up, but he blew it up so big that it popped. So we talked about how the cause means the why it happened and the effect means the what happened. So he blew it up too big. That's what caused it to happen. And the effect was that it popped. Okay? So be thinking about that today when we are reading our story. So again, Miss Esther is on page 30 in our packet, and I want you to follow along with me as we're reading. So the title is called Running Hot and Cold. How hot is hot? One of the hottest places on earth is Death Valley in California. The highest temperatures ever recorded was at 201 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's hot. In the summer, it's often more than 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Death Valley sits 282 feet above sea level and is surrounded by mountains. The mountains stop almost all rain and clouds from getting to the valley. This lack of rain and cloud causes Death Valley to be very dry and sunny. Also, the air is heavier because more air is pressing down on it, heating it up. Okay, so a couple of things that I saw was the word causes and then also because. So I think it's important for us to understand why Death Valley is so hot. So I think right here, if we look at this section, the mountains stop almost all rain and clouds from getting to the valley. This lack of rain and clouds causes Death Valley to be very dry and sunny. Also, the air is heavier because more air is pressing down on it, heating it up. So I think that's very important with the cause and effect. All right, let's read here. How cold is cold? The coldest place on Earth is the continent of Antarctica. The lowest temperature ever recorded there was negative 129 degrees Fahrenheit. Because, there's another signal word, guys, because Antarctica is located at the bottom of the earth, it gets very little sunlight. In fact, for 6 months there is complete darkness. Without sunlight, the ground doesn't have any warmth to soak up. But even when the sun shines, it stays very cold, again, because most of the continent is solid rock covered by ice. The sun can't heat it up. Because it is so cold on Antarctica, very few animals or plants live there. Antarctica is hard to reach. It doesn't have a lot of food or building materials either. Therefore, although scientists may spend months there, people do not make their permanent homes in Antarctica. Okay, so let's come over here. It says, there is more than one reason that Death Valley is so hot and Antarctica is so cold. I'm going to look for causes and effects that explain why they are like this. So we found one. So one reason is because the mountains stop the rain and clouds. Another reason is because the air is really heavy. Okay, now let's come down here. Because it's located at the bottom of the earth. Okay, also, but even when the sun shines, it stays very cold because, why? This is another reason. Number 2, it is solid rock and it cannot melt the ice. Okay, so those are the 2 reasons as to why it stays cold. All right, let's look right here. Why is there complete darkness in Antarctica for 6 months? So can you go and underline the sentence that tells us why? Why is Antarctica dark for 6 months? So pause your video. And then let's come back and see if you got it right. Did you underline this? Because it is located at the bottom of the earth, it gets very little sunlight. If you did, good job. Okay, let's go right here. Why don't people stay in Antarctica for a long time? Can you go find the sentence that tells us why people don't live in Antarctica? All right, it actually gave us 2 reasons. Number 1, because it's so cold, but also they don't have a lot of food or building materials. Okay, awesome job, guys. So pause your video, make sure you have all of this filled out, and then let's go to the next page. All right, so what we're going to do is you're not going to answer number 3, so you can go ahead and mark that one out. I want you to pause your video, and you're going to answer number 1 and number 2, and then you're going to come back and see if you got them right. So a couple hints. For number 1, it says to reread paragraph 2, okay? And for this one, it says to reread paragraph 3. And think about those when you're answering your question. So pause your video. And you're gonna... All right, so hopefully you were able to go back and find your answers. And so for number 1, you should have put B. So the question is, why is Death Valley so dry and sunny? The answer is B, because the mountains block the rain and clouds. If we go to our story, it tells us right here that the mountains stop almost all rain and clouds from getting to Death Valley. The lack of rain and clouds causes Death Valley to be very dry and sunny. Okay, so the best answer was B. Let's go to number 2. Why does Antarctica get so little sunlight? I remember reading that part. The answer is B. It's located at the bottom of the earth. Okay, and so right here it tells us Antarctica is located at the bottom of the earth. It gets very little sunlight. Okay, so hopefully you got those 2 correct. If you didn't, make sure you correct them. And then for today's assignment, you are going to take a picture of both pages. Ms. Esther needs to see your work on this page, and I need to see that you did your answers here. So you're going to take a picture just like you did in the other assignments and upload that to Canvas. Okay, tomorrow we will be reading a story about how we have hail during thunderstorms. Okay, so we're going to keep working on our cause and effect.